Ending advertising was a multi-step process that began with public outrage over the use of terms and conditions written in dense legalese that no one understood. It all started when a young mother was sued by Amazon for unplugging her smart TV for more than an hour. She had been forced to agree to several different screens with terms and conditions that stipulated this, before the TV would work. She didn't think much of it, until one day she decided to rearrange the furniture in her living room. A week later she received a bill for several $1,000s from Amazon. Although she knew that any court in New York State would side with her, she did not have the resources to hire an attorney and did nothing and was branded a deadbeat by the 3 credit scoring agencies. Then there was a family from Minnesota that purchased a subscription to Disney Plus without realizing that by doing so, they were signing away all rights to sue Disney for anything, forever, and throughout the universe. They, too, had no idea what they had agreed to, but they found out when one of the kids was severely injured at a Disney park. Shielded by its legalese, Disney did not even offer to pay the child's medical bills. It was made untouchable by the forced terms and conditions that every Disney Plus subscriber agrees to. These cases had already garnered significant attention from the media when news broke about a bank that claimed it did not have to disclose how much money was in anyone's account. Instead of providing a ledger, the bank was accused of knowingly keeping their statements vague by providing only a simplified list of transactions. A consumer reached out to an advocacy organization that was able to figure out that the bank was holding on to millions of dollars of expired authorizations and refunds of American consumers. The public quickly saw why their bank statements had been getting more and more simplified. People began to not agree to any terms and conditions, even if it meant they couldn't use certain products and services. But that didn't matter. The corporations continued to act as though people had agreed to the terms and conditions and continued to sue consumers. There was nothing anyone could do without the help of attorneys, which meant that 90% of people could do nothing. Feeling trapped, consumers began to resurrect old devices. Jailbreaking smart appliances became a valued service, but providers of that service had to be discreet because jailbreaking had been criminalized by Congress at the behest of corporations. When a 16-year-old kid suspected of jailbreaking was gunned down by police in Texas for trying to run, people had enough. This was the environment in which a charismatic leader emerged. Kate woke up as she would on any payday, full of ideas of what to buy, where to buy it, and where she would put it. But first she had to figure out who was logging into her Google account. She found out the previous day that there was no way to turn off the ability for new devices to log into her account. Random people, whether from America or somewhere far away, would always be able to ask Google to let them log in, and that horrified her. When she learned this, she activated two-factor authentication, and that seemed to have taken care of the problem the previous night. But today the person was back in her account. Anxiety washed over her skin, causing minute hives. Feeling genuinely scared, she dusted off an old laptop that she hadn't used in at least a year and created a longer and more complicated password with it. For the time being, it seemed she was able to block the nefarious actor, who was using a Samsung phone from somewhere in the United States, from logging in again and seeing her emails. She did not like to think about the fact that a stranger now knew all of her lowest moments and embarrassing fights from the last 20 years. But once again she was able to put it out of her mind because she had no other choice. On her way to work at Harborview Medical Center she treated herself to a large coffee with 2 espresso shots poured into it, something she called a depth charge, from a tiny coffee stand near the monorail. Her mood immediately lifted and she felt on top of the world. She marveled at how coffee was an antidepressant despite not acting on serotonin or norepinephrine, or even some of the neurotransmitters that had only recently been implicated in depression. As she blasted high-energy techno into her ears with noise-canceling headphones, she hoped she would be able to maintain that energy for the rest of the day. "I need to be strategic about my coffee consumption or else it'll stop working," she reminded herself. As a nurse she was able to avoid the outrageously long hours that doctors were forced to work, but she often had to do some amount of unpaid work before she left. She did the math and found that it only reduced her effective wage by 10 cents an hour. Only. Having worked in the emergency department for 15 years, she had recently noted the remarkable uptick in psychiatric patients who thought TVs were talking to them. She was also dismayed by the prevalence of a brand new type of delusion called gang stalking. Gang stalking was a delusion in which the sufferer believed that an organized group of people were stalking them wherever they went, essentially. She understood these two delusions because she took a lot of acid in high school and experienced both of them on several bad trips. Her first patient that day was a 40-something psychiatric patient who had run out of his medication and was asking the emergency department to write a temporary supply. She knew the attending physician had a dim view of psychiatric patients, but this one was different. This patient controlled his bipolar disorder by taking an anti-seizure drug in lithium instead of an antipsychotic. Sudden cessation of the anti-seizure medication would almost certainly result in a seizure, and she knew the attending would recognize the potential for malpractice lawsuits arising from denying him his medications. She entered the exam room and found a calm and composed man who greeted her politely. After purposefully asking him questions that he already answered to someone else, for the purpose of sussing out malingering or drug-seeking, she had a good feeling about him. "Tell me why I should trust that you're not going to harm yourself with the medications we give you," she said to the man. "Because you know I have a lithium level of 0.7, and you know that people on lithium don't kill themselves," he said. Kate's good feeling was buttressed by this. Kate's opinion meant a lot to the attending, so the handsome 40-something man got his medications and was on his way. She didn't get any time to eat lunch that day, but she was only at the hospital for 8 hours. As she walked back to the espresso stand near the monorail, she thought about the conventional wisdom that stated doctors needed to work ridiculously long hours in order to keep track of their patients properly. She thought about airline pilots, who are responsible for an order of magnitude more lives on any given day, and how they were somehow able to transfer control to each other seamlessly. She, like most people, hoped the barista thought she was cool. As he rung her up, she surveyed the tattoos on his forearm. He had clearly been an up-and-coming tattoo artist's practice meet, but she actually preferred shitty tattoos to good ones. She was an automatic $2 tipper every time she was there, so she hoped he was making small talk with her because he wanted to. "Have a good day?" he asked. "Oh, it's always the same," she said. She could see a nice chest under the kid's intentionally threadbare white t-shirt, which led her to look at his biceps. She took her drip coffee, lingered a little, and was on her way. Seattle was glorious that time of year, 0 humidity, 0 flying insects, and it stayed light past 9 o'clock. Kate had planned to finally get all of her pictures together and put them into one folder that she could upload to her Google Drive that night. It was undoubtedly the safest place for them. "I can get memory sticks later," she thought. She became engrossed in her pictures and decided it was the perfect time to fill 3 empty picture frames she had laying around. Her printer advertised itself as being able to print crisp images, and she splurged on shiny paper when she bought the printer. Over the next 6 months she wondered more than once if the printer was a waste of money, considering she hadn't printed a thing. After the printer did nothing when she tried to turn it on, she realized it wasn't plugged in. It came to life immediately. There was a tiny screen in the middle of it that said, "Welcome to HP," before it transitioned to "Connect to Internet." Fat chance, she thought as she began looking for a button that would override it. She eventually got the printer into what looked like a print-ready posture. After sizing the images to fit in the frames she had, she pressed print. That's when she found out she had to purchase a subscription to use the printer. She felt her good mood evaporate upon learning this. She was incredulous that she had to pay for a subscription to use something that she owned. She felt like a peasant on a medieval plantation overseen by HP. She mourned for the world she grew up in, and she was glad that she would be dead within the next 40 years. And she doubted her ability to pay for the next 40 years' worth of subscriptions. Thoroughly saddened in a very real way, she decided to go back to the espresso stand and vent to the 20-something barista and get some spiked steamed milk. The setting sun was casting its usual colors onto Elliott Bay, whose blue waters were visible from the espresso stand. "Back for more?" the barista asked with a smile. "Ugh, I just found out I need to buy a subscription to operate my printer and it sent me into a rage. I need some spiked steamed milk to calm down," she confessed. "Ah, dude, I can help you with that," he said as he reached for the milk in the cooler and started steaming it. Are you a hacker? She asked hesitantly because she knew that word was often laughed at nowadays. Nah dude, I have an old printer that doesn't connect to the internet. You can have it. That's very awesome of you. One day we're gonna run out of old printers, you know. They definitely know that and they're biding their time. They're going to force everything as a service onto us whether we like it or not, he said as he tapped the air bubbles out of the steamed milk and added the marijuana extract. What time do you close? An hour and a half. I rode my bike here, though, he said. I'll definitely need to take my car to carry the printer. We can walk to my place and I can carry it to your place. You can wait on my porch, he said so as not to appear creepy. She wanted to ask him if carrying printers long distances was how his biceps got so big, but figured that would be lame. Women liked Guy because he gave them physical distance. Kate felt safe around him, but she would take his suggestion and wait on the porch. She hadn't anticipated that she would have to make conversation, let alone with the 20-something woman sitting on a lawn chair with her laptop. Kate, this is Maya, Guy introduced the two before going inside. Fucking Microsoft is forcibly using my bandwidth, Maya said in a relatable way, her face bottom lit from the screen. My printer has microtransactions, Kate countered. HP? That's right, HP printers check your subscription status before they will print. Kate hated to even think about it. That's intolerable. That is an intolerable act, Maya shook her head. Well, I'm getting around it this time by getting this guy's old printer. Kate wasn't sure if that was lame or not. His name is Guy, Maya said. Guy appeared, still in his coffee bean-stained, flimsy t-shirt. The walk was somewhat awkward for both of them, but for those precious minutes of conversation it was fantastic. When they got to her place, Guy handed her the printer so she didn't have to worry about being robbed by him or worse. Kate felt like she was making a difference by using a second-hand printer, and she was. She wished there was something akin to a public library for manufacturing. She dreamed of a second network of fiber optic cables to form a second internet. She thought about how the shallower a person was, the more likely they were to survive in this society, and wondered if that was intentional. Could they be that smart?